Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to FM22 Journeyman. We are on episode number 12. After 2 seasons with Simon Padang in Indonesia, we are looking to begin our Journeyman career, as in our first movement. That doesn't mean it's going to necessarily happen. We very well could be with Simon Padang for another year, but we begin this episode by looking at our competition. This Albert Garcia is the favorite for a position that we are interested in. So Albert Garcia happens to be an unemployed Spanish manager, head coach. He has decent attributes. I mean, he is certainly tolerable. He's got a Continental C license. He's got a little bit of a reputation. He's certainly okay. His coaching career is just 3 years, so he's only been 1 year longer than we have, and that is with 3 towns in China. What tier are they in? Okay, so they're down at the bottom of the Chinese First League, which is important. Now, at the moment, I am looking to go abroad beyond Indonesia. Obviously, we've already reached the top tier in Indonesia, but I'm not looking to go outside of Asia just yet. I want to move up in Asia and then go from there and get elsewhere. So when you look at the rankings, you can see that Indonesia isn't even visible here in what we see as the top 24, but only just. The Shopee League 1, Indonesia, where we are, the very first one that comes in at 1.5 stars, is ranked 27th. So anything below that isn't going to help build my profile. I want to move up, not backwards. I don't want to go champion in Malaysia, which is a possibility, or Hong Kong for that matter. Those are possibilities, yes, but it's a step down. I want to try to take a step up. So from here, my options, the playable leagues that I have that are available, there aren't that many in Asia, and I don't have any modded databases for this playthrough that are set up and ready to go. So our first option is just 2 spots above us in India. From there, we see a significant jump into, well, the more higher ranked leagues. 12th place, the K2 League, so Korea's second league, and just 1 spot above that, China's second league, aka League 1. And then finally, those same 2 counterparts with their top divisions. The K-League, Korea's top division, is ranked 3rd in Asia, while the Chinese Super League is the top spot. So realistically, those 2 destinations make, well, honestly, the only amount of sense. Those 2 destinations provide you a path. Not these 2. I don't think we have the reputation we need, but through this lower area, the 11th, 12th ranked, those second tiers, which are both playable, both accessible, and both provide a natural path to get us to the top podium positions in Asia, which then is your stepping stone to get to South America, or to get to North America, or to get to Europe. Whatever our next destination would be. Being in the top of one of those can build that reputation and make that happen. So I'm looking for either China or Korea. And when we go to the job center, from here above are the available head coaching positions in my playable leagues. And we have PSIS. Okay, I'm not taking that step back. 2 League 2 positions. Definitely not taking that step back. Chengdu, China League 1. That's a possibility. But then we're looking at 2 from Hong Kong. We have 1 from Malaysia and 2 from Singapore. Those are all steps backwards. All of them. So there's only one job right now that makes any amount of sense for us to apply for, and that is Chengdu in League 1. Now, they were 5th in China's League 1. that is pretty dang good. That is close to promotion already as it is. You can see the stadium capacity is quite large. Chengdu is deep into the interior of China, and it's actually a young club. They were founded just in 2018. Now, for those who don't know much about the history of the Chinese Super League, or really the sport in general, China invested heavily just recently to produce talent for the sport in the nation, and encouraged businessmen to step up and invest in clubs. And my oh my, did they invest in a major way, in an epic fashion, where they started overpaying for players pretty late in their career. Now, things are settling down. The dust from that has really settled down. But this is a brand new stadium just built in 2021 with almost 30,000 season ticket holders, meaning they are probably pretty dang near sellouts. They do seem to have a Spanish influence already, which means, this Spanish coach has a real shot at getting the job. He's got a profile that's slightly better than mine, but not by much. Maybe I'm more affordable. Maybe that's a good option. We certainly have a shot. I don't know if we're going to get the job or not, but we're going to give it a shot. We'll see what we can do. So Chengdu Better City are looking for a new head coach who will be able to guide the team to a top half finish within League One. They want to develop players using the club's youth system. It's obviously a good thing. Cannot sign non-Chinese goalkeepers. Sign high reputation players. Sign players under the age of 23. So kind of everything. They want some young players, but they want high reputation, and they want youth players. So kind of do it all. They want to build. There's no head coach rules. Training facilities are adequate. They have a significant payroll. I'm going to go ahead and apply for the job. Now, as I am currently employed, I'm not going to go as far as declaring interest in the job and possibly leaving myself jobless and then having to take a step back to one of those other leagues. I don't have a lot of options here right now. I literally have one option. So we'll quietly try to get our foot in the door for that one. And then if it doesn't happen, we stay with the club for now and then just keep an eye out for an opening in those two leagues, in the Korean second tier and Chinese second tier, until we do get an opening that we can actually get the position for. We have failed to get in for the position. We did not make the shortlist, though they do note that we did fit the vision, that we were capable of getting the job. So we are on target for Chinese League One, or the K-League, K-League 2, right? Or yes, K-League 2. So we are on track to be able to get into those two places. We've built enough reputation now, but clearly not to the top clubs necessarily at that level. So we're just going to have to keep an eye out and look for new openings. Both of them, like ourselves here, just a couple days before Christmas right now, are at the same cycle for their seasons. And so they are currently in their off seasons, which means we might have to wait until early part of the year. If there's no openings now, there's probably not going to be any openings until the season actually begins, or any further openings, that is. And then we'll just have to watch for somebody who's in the relegation zone, fighting relegation, who gets fired, and then applying for one of those kind of jobs where they're desperate for a lift. We might have a better chance at obtaining one of those instead of going for the team that currently sits fifth place in a league that's a little more prestigious. I think we were just under the level we needed to be for that one. But like I said, somebody facing relegation at the bottom, maybe we've got a better shot there. I wouldn't exactly call it an extensive search, but my assistant manager is retiring. He was not being paid a whole lot because he was hired down in the lower tier, and he didn't get that much of an increase. And now everybody on the market wants significantly more money than what he is making, a ton more. And all of them, even the weaker ones, the significantly weaker ones, are asking for a lot more than what the club can afford to pay. So I'm going to have a bit of an issue trying to fill that vacancy. The vacancy isn't there just yet, but it'll be open in a week. And I think I'm going to have to try to do an advert and see what happens through the advertisement and see if we get somebody who comes in applying for it that understands that they're just not going to be paid as much because of our financial situation. So I've looked in, and it turns out that with the new year, there are some opportunities now to apply for some other jobs. In fact, there's 5 of them. 1 for the K2 League and 4 to the Chinese League 1, aka second division. So 5 job opportunities, and I will go ahead and apply for all 5. And in this case, there are people who didn't have their contracts renewed, and at the same time, after looking through them, they're a bit lower ranked. So there's a little bit more in terms of opportunity here to maybe land the job. Unfortunately, after applying to all 5 of these, though, I very quickly discovered that, well, it's not happening. I missed the interview process. They were all already interviewed for, and so now I know in the future that most of these leagues here that have this kind of winter window, they, like us, have contracts that expire right at the end of December. So come January 1st, some positions are opening up. I'm disappointed that I missed it, but at least we know now for the future. I haven't done Journeyman in over a decade. On to the youth intake, and well, it's another good one. It's another really good one. 5-star intake, exceptional evaluation, quite a few talented players. It turns out that even though we don't necessarily have great youth, well, anything, we're not. We don't have really good youth anything, but it just looks like when you compare us to the others in Indonesia, we are that much better. And that little bit gives us some of the best youth players coming out of the youth ranks in all of Indonesia. And that is certainly helpful because, like last year, we cashed in on a fair few of those. I think we brought in probably 60 to 70,000 and selling off some of the lesser talented youth players. I can expect to do the same this year, sell off another 60 to 70,000, and like last year, hang on to the best 4 or 5, meaning we'll have a good 8 talents or so. And I had already noticed when we first took over the team that there was 2 or 3 good young talents, and those 2 or 3 good young talents evolved and became Guino, who is now a regular starter. It is possible, and I can get a couple of these guys through this system to be competitive. Just a little quick highlight here for our youth intake game, and it is our U19s, obviously, against our youth intake, and the youth intake group is in yellow. So we're about 7 minutes in here at this point in time, of course, playing our familiar tactic. And we're seeing some really good ball movement and a very close chance right off the bat. Great through ball there, and it's pushed just a little bit wide. It looks like we were trying to curl it around the keeper on the near post, and just not enough curl to it. But yes, youth intake in yellow, and again, dominating possession early on, so that's a good sign. Of course, the U19 is not quite as strong as it was, as we did already sell off quite a few of the players from last year's intake, and a lot of what was left is some of the weaker ones. But there is the go-ahead goal for the intake group, and again, just really, really controlling things very well. I like this group that we have in here, at least seemingly. Simple through ball. In fact, that ball could have been pushed out a little bit further in the gap. It wasn't, but easy touch right on the edge of the box, and it's 1-0. So looking back at the results here, I think this squad is looking pretty good. And when you do take that comparison after who we signed, there's only a couple that didn't get signed. They're really, really weak. We're not going to get any money for those, so we will let those ones go. But the rest of that list, the ones that are all in the gray, that's all the intake, and you can see there's only a few players from last year that even match with that. On to our transfers for the year. thus far. We still have a little bit of time before the season actually starts, but here's where the transfers are at now. Just a handful of players out. The other handful there are all out on loan, but the handful that are out, not bad players. They certainly contributed to us or were close to first team, but what it really does is frees up quite a bit of salary. Salary has been a real concern for us, and I've been able to kind of overhaul where this team was. The squad was a little bloated. I brought in a lot more in that first season, and now over the last 2 seasons, we've been able to part ways with quite a few players. We really thinned that squad down, which importantly thinned our payroll down a lot. Now, for what we've brought in, we have 6 players so far. 1 young player, just up and coming for the future. The other 5, though, are all for the first team. Now, first, Ali, a wingback, left side, just an upgrade to Lestaluhu, but not great. He's definitely not as good as he could be, but he's better than Lestaluhu, and we'll take that. It turns out that Indonesia just does not produce wingbacks, period. None of the teams are producing wingbacks. I'm searching all over Indonesia, and no matter which level we're looking at, I cannot find a proper wingback. Now, we've lucked out a little bit on the right side, where we found a couple guys that either could develop or could play, but left wingbacks is just really hard to come by. At least we have 2 players now that can play there. They're not great, but we can rotate through and kind of go off of form and see them out. But he is, like I said, at least a bit of an upgrade. Moving on, though, I have 2 goalkeepers that I signed, both of them an upgrade to Hangara. And the great news about that is that Hangara accepted a downgrade in his role. He accepted being a backup. So he's still around. He's young. He could still develop. He could still maybe regain that position, or when the time's right, we can sell him and cash in on him. But we brought in 2 very similar goalkeepers that are just a clear notch above Hangara. The first of those, Tierney, really should be stepping in, and he is very Hangara-like, with just a couple more points here and there at all the places where it counts. A little better at shot stopping, a little better with distribution, but very similar play style. Now, he's a little bit older, but he accepted a role as cup goalkeeper, which isn't much of a thing anyway for us, so it doesn't matter. It's easy to give him those games, and he can definitely step in a pinch. And like I said, we can cash in on Hangara or cash in on him at some point. He was the one I signed first, but I signed him knowing that we would go after this guy, Sartha, who is very similar to the both of them. A little bit a little bit better in certain areas, but unlike the others, excellent communication and distribution comparatively. Excellent. So massive step up in those 2 areas, but very similar in the shot stopping. So I like our options, and I have 3 guys who can really step in if we need to, if any of them struggle, and I don't mind the depth that I now have. So excited about that. The last one we brought in is the big signing. Akono is very much a la Lucas Gabriel, just older, not 18 with plenty of potential, but 27, already developed. Now, the worrying thing is all this orange and red. I think this is the move, maybe the lower adaptability, where he's trying to learn our system, and hopefully that'll settle out here pretty quick. He's only just been with us a few weeks at this point, maybe 2 weeks. But Akono, according to my assistant managers anyway, Akono is second best player behind Gabriel. So we're going to have 2 good strikers now on top, pairing up Cameroonian, and I'm loving the option here. Now, when I look at him and compare him to my other young strikers, my trio of young strikers who kind of rotate through and support Gabriel or fill in when Gabriel is occasionally injured. For one thing, Akono doesn't have the injury problems that Gabriel does. Gabriel's kind of susceptible to injuries, so he can step up if we need him to, and obviously gives us more depth. But for a pretty affordable rate and accepting a squad role, he has a high value according to most people looking at him. And it looks like if I need to, I might be able to get 60, 70, 80,000 out of him, and that could be worth quite a bit of money for us. That could really be worth some money. And if he does turn out to be pretty good, because he's only slightly better than the three we have and very similar to them, if he is good, then obviously we hang on to him and keep him, and we can sell one of them for less. But if he doesn't work out, it's easy to cash in on. And so I'm excited by that signing. But that is going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. And bye for now.